For more now, I'm joined by Congressman Adam Smith, Democratic representative from Washington. Congressman, first of all, congratulations to the Seattle Seahawks. I know it's a very important time of year with football.
A couple more to go, but yes.
A couple more to go, but still, a win's a win, right? We're
Yes.
a year into President Trump's second stint in the White House. He's done a lot like securing the border, passing big, beautiful bill. I know that Democrats weren't big fans of that. Got back a lot of Israeli and American hostages. He's fulfilled a lot of campaign promises. I know that you have some disagreements with him, if not a lot of them, but are there any successes you can point to that you agree with him on, or that maybe you could work with him in this upcoming congressional session?
Well, two slightly separate questions. I mean, there's certainly a lot of things that we could work on together. I think, getting healthcare expenses under control and actually doing some comprehensive healthcare reform would be a good thing to work on. As far as things that I think he's done, the border is more secure. There is no question about that. And I think that is an accomplishment. Now, where things start to go sideways is when you talk about the big, beautiful bill. First of all, President, most popular piece of legislation ever, he says. And that's part of the problem. He says a lot of things. They're not necessarily true. I haven't seen a poll that shows that bill over 40% in terms of approval ratings. It is not popular, and that's what Tim is referring to in terms of their messaging challenges. And it added $4 trillion to the debt. Now, Tim talks about, you benefit, put more money in your pockets. Look, if you're allowed to run up an unlimited debt, you can make a lot of people happy. I mean, $4 trillion, you can do something with it. But that's been the problem. And here we go again, basically driving up the debt. The debt went up more in Trump's first term as president than under any four-year president in the history of the country. And so doing that again, I think, is a problem. I think that's part of the problems with the Republican messaging. They came in talking about the debt, about the fiscal irresponsibility of Democrats, and then they double and tripled us and really drove up the debt. And I think that's going to be a problem.
Well, I think we can both agree that having too much debt is a massive problem for the country. I want to get to Minnesota because, of course, every night there's news coming out of that state and out of Minneapolis. We're seeing a lot of mayhem, so much so the Pentagon is readying 1,500 troops to potentially deploy as, again, anti-ICE rioters continue to create chaos. And they stormed a church over the weekend during a Sunday service. Let's listen to that, and I'll get your take on the other end.
Don't shoot! Don't shoot! Don't shoot!
So, Congressman, I know you have big disagreements about how the White House is handling this, but it seems like there has to be something done about the disruption of places like a church for the sake of going after, a political objective and agenda.
The problem is we're in an escalatory cycle, and Donald Trump has started that escalatory cycle with the way ICE is conducting itself and other federal agencies that got in there. There's a story today about I think it's like an 85-year-old citizen from Laos who 10, 15 ICE agents stormed into his house at gunpoint to everybody else. There was no resistance whatsoever. They took him out in a bathrobe and his underwear, drove him around for an hour, and then figured out that he was, in fact, a citizen and that they had been looking for a different person. They didn't have any probable cause. They didn't have a warrant. And they are doing that not just in Minneapolis and a whole bunch of other places. They are randomly stopping people, in many cases citizens, bashing in car windows, yanking them out, no respect whatsoever for due process, probable cause, or the rule of law. We need to enforce the law. We do. But when you come in that hot, when you come in violating the rights of people who have done absolutely nothing wrong, that's escalatory. So before we go bringing in active duty troops to Minneapolis, why don't we tone that down a little bit and actually enforce the law within what the law is supposed to be? No person in America, Republican, Democrat, Independent, should want a situation where the federal government can send armed agents into your house without any probable cause or due process.
Many would argue that allowing 20 million plus illegal aliens into the country without vetting and then having these local 100%. Jurisdictions being sanctuary cities, not working with the local law enforcement, that becomes a huge problem.
Do you think it's okay for the federal agents is that the way the law has to be enforced with no attention whatsoever to probable cause or due process?
I think they certainly should have probable cause, and I'd like more information on that story before I comment on it. But I understand that they are. Well, I would also ask, how do you expect the law to be enforced when the local law enforcement is not participating? Do you believe that the governor and the mayor of Minnesota should have local law enforcement operate with ICE so they can do this inside jails with criminal aliens they have on record rather than having to go door to door and into these communities.
But if ICE shows up the way they have, the mayor and the governor of Minneapolis have an obligation to protect their citizens from that too. And I have not seen, I mean, Donald Trump, when he was talking about going into Chicago, he posts a meme of apocalypse now with helicopters coming in saying we're going to declare war on the city of Chicago.
Well,
That's what the president
Tim
of the
Walz
United
said he was
States
at war with the federal government, so I think that he's reacting that way. And the story is certainly not going away.
President.
We have to run, Congressman, but I appreciate so much your time tonight. Thank you for coming on to discuss.
Thanks for the opportunity. I appreciate it.
Thank you.